Open it up. We'll start with James Crapia from the Oregonian.
Joe, I'm never one to make a big deal about environments, home or road, but you are the only one on the staff to have ever played and coached a game at Ohio Stadium, and it is far and away the largest and the loudest building that any player on this team will have ever played in. So what do you offer by way of perspective to the team about what is an incredibly adverse environment?
Yeah, it'll be very challenging. It's probably in the top three of places I've coached throughout 24 years. I think over 100,000. You're down there, and the stands seem like they go straight up in the air forever, and a very intelligent and passionate fan base who can get really loud at times. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's a very, very tough environment to play.
Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
Yeah, Joe, how does your experience coaching in the conference against Ohio State maybe lend itself in this matchup, or does that really?
I guess a little bit in the sense that, Kerry Coombs was on the staff at the time, but I don't believe he was a defensive coordinator calling the plays. So I guess more than anything, familiarity with the conference. They're not doing the same thing schematically now as they were in 16 and 17 when they played them. Have a little bit of familiarity with their personnel. We recruited a lot of those guys when I was at Penn State. So I would say those are the things maybe that we could bring to the table from a knowledge of opponent standpoint.
Alvaro Torres, End Zoners.
Hello, Coach Moorhead. I don't know if I pronounce good the surname, sorry. I'm from End Zoners, a Latin American network. And my question is, what are your thoughts on Anthony Brown, and what aspects of his game, if any, do you think he may still have to improve upon?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand the question. We said, what does Anthony Brown need to improve on? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought Anthony played a solid game. Had a touchdown throw and a touchdown running. For the most part, made good decisions. A couple throws he would like to have back in the pass game. A couple decisions in the run game. But I thought for the first time, back in the gun, as a starter, I thought it was a solid performance with a lot of room for improvement.
Sean McPherson, KWVA Sports.
Coach, Chris Hudson was a player who made the start on Saturday despite not being listed as a starter on the organizational chart earlier in the week. What was the thought process behind him getting his first start on Saturday, and also what can he do for your team moving forward?
Yeah, Coach McClendon, does a great job with the room and handling the repetitions, throughout the course of the week in practice, and then setting up the rotation for game day. So Chris had an excellent week of practice, and the guys have a lot of positional flexibility, in terms of being able to play multiple positions. And we felt to start the game that Johnny is the X, Mike at the slot, and Chris at the Z was our best grouping to start the game. And I think Chris has got a lot of upside. Had one nice catch there, had a couple opportunities for others, and will continue to improve as the season progresses.
Jerry Thompson, Ducks Illustrated. Jerry, you're muted.
Sorry, Coach. Sorry about that. Got a view from the end zone in that last series, actually in the fourth quarter. The holes were huge for CJ Verdell. Did you guys change things? Just block better? What contributed to those holes that even you and I could have ran through at times?
Yeah, maybe you, not me. I don't know. I think we, there were some things in the. I think we started fast. It came out of the gate strong. Had it hit, like Coach mentioned, hit a little bit of a lull in the second and third quarter, and then finished strong there in the fourth. I think a lot of the runs were, a block away from splitting for bigger yardage in the first three quarters. One thing schematically that we hadn't done in the first half is we went to split zone instead of just regular inside zone or counter. That was a halftime adjustment, and a lot of those runs were ones that CJ ended up splitting. So I think our line was, playing with good pad level. They're knocking guys off the ball, and the backs are running physically downhill and running through arm tackles. So I think that's what contributed to some of those successful run plays in the second half, particularly the fourth quarter.
Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Hi, Joe. Ohio State had a lot of, different defensive players playing in the first game. Lots of guys who didn't play as much last year. Kind of how challenging is that preparing for, just the second game of the year when there's not a ton of film on a lot of those guys who are out there playing?
Yeah, I mean, it's very challenging. Ohio State played the national championship last year. They're defending Big Ten champ. The roster's littered with 4 and 5-star talent, and they're incredibly well coached across the board. So all of us a challenge. But Tyreek and Zach played a ton, as did the interior guys. The guys at the second level, the linebackers, are all relatively new. Have played a bunch of games on special teams, and Denzel's new, but the other guys on the back end, the 7 didn't play, but 41's. I mean, it's challenging in the sense that you haven't seen this combination of guys, play together. All 11 of them, you've seen them play in spurts, but not as a group. So I think that's probably the most challenging part of seeing those guys play all together as a unit.
James Crapia, the Oregonian.
So we talked a little last week about offensive identity, and I think in the fourth quarter, obviously when you really needed it, you went to Reliable and Verdell. Can you speak to just his importance to all it is you want to do? I know he's not the only thing. You're more diverse than just pounding the rock, but when rubber met the road, you did, and he delivered. You've had elite backs before. How critically important is he to what you want to do, not just on the ground, but what he opens up for you in the air because he's that threat? Yeah, and CJ and Travis both have very, very solid games, and at the end of the day, my job as an offensive coordinator isn't to worry about style points or how it's done. There's one stat that matters, and that's putting them in the left-hand column instead of the right-hand column. Now, ideally you'd like to be as balanced as you can, 50-50, and create more explosive plays and limit some of the negative yardage things. But at a certain point as a play caller, you got to worry about what are we going to do to win this football game. And as you mentioned, in that fourth quarter, it was tied, and we needed to drive down and get a score, and we were running the ball well. And CJ and Travis are 2 guys that have done it at a very high level for a long time here. So those are the guys we wanted to feed with the ball.
Matt Preem, 247 Sports.
Yeah, Joe, you guys took a couple shots downfield, but I don't think it was nearly as much as most people outside the program was expecting. How much of that was offensive line maybe not giving ample protection, or the play just didn't work because of coverage or whatnot? How do you assess your shots downfield?
Shots down the field?
Yeah.
I think we ended up throwing it, 25 times by attempt, but there were more calls that were scrambles,
right.
And had more run calls. Like I said, a lot of that is dictated, it's not 7-on-7 or flag. There's three components to the pass game, and that's protection, that's separation and running the route, and that's throwing the football and completing it. And I think we were, had some opportunities on some things down the field that we didn't connect on, got a couple pass interferences, but certainly we want to be more balanced. We want to take more shots down the field, but some of the stuff that was occurring throughout the course of the game didn't dictate for us, to take as many as, and there's probably a little more than people thought, but once again, I can't, worry about what people are thinking. It's saying you don't concern yourself with the opinions of people of whom you wouldn't accept their advice, particularly on the play calling part of it. But, we're going to try to continue to push the ball down the field when the opportunity arises, and we're capable of doing it. And that's something we want to do, be aggressive, taking shots down the field.
Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
Coach Anthony talked about the offense needing to clean up some of the execution. Sounded like that was pretty critical. What are maybe a few areas that you've evaluated from film that stood out that you think you need to focus on to accomplish that?
Yeah, up front, sticking on blocks, make sure we're finishing, the integrity of the pocket, make sure we're continuing to maintain the depth and the width of the pocket so the quarterback can, step up and make a good decision. The running backs running hard and physical and through their pads like they did in the fourth quarter throughout the game. The receivers, being assignment correct, blocking well on the perimeter, and, catching the ball when they have the opportunity, and the quarterbacks making correct reads and delivering the ball with accuracy. So I'd say those are the things that we need to continually improve on. Consistency of execution, sustained for 4 quarters.
Last question goes to Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports.
Hey, Joe.
Dennis,
how are you doing?
Long time no see.
Yeah, you too. You've been in 3 Power 5 conferences in the last 5 years. What are the differences, just culturally, everything else, do you think?
I think they all have their own identities, I think. And I think they're all kind of unique. And, I say haven't been in the Big 12 or the ACC, but, I think it's, I think the Pac-12 probably has the most parity from top to bottom. I'd say that's the one thing that stands out the most about being in the Pac-12. You know, obviously the SEC, presents a lot of challenging teams, and the Big Ten kind of has the identity of, pounding the ball and playing great defense and things like that. Although they're, Ohio State is an incredibly explosive team in a lot of different ways. So I'd say that the thing that separates the Pac-12 from the others from an identity standpoint is the parity of the leagues from top to bottom.
Good luck.
Thank you, Dennis. Great to see you.
You too.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
All right, guys. God bless. Have a great one.